Welcome to the Blast Podcast, created and hosted by your friendly neighborhood media personality, me, DSP. I am the voice of Rockland County, New York's art culture, and this platform is the epicenter of said culture. I sit down with many artists, producers, entrepreneurs, among other creatives, and get them to open up to our listeners so they get to know them better. If I'm not doing that, I'm covering current events and reacting to them. Once again, welcome to your new favorite podcast, the Blast Podcast. The Last Life Gaming Network is an over-the-top platform catering to the gamer, with hours of content at your disposal upon launch date. The LLGN will provide you with top-notch entertainment in the gaming world, with original shows such as Collections, Co-op Interview, and GUI Gaming Under the Influence, as well as highlights of Twitch and Mixer live streams. The network will have you chomping at the bits for content. Add on a live stream schedule and streams that will be interactive. There will be countless reasons for you, the viewer, to be invested in.
And I with the night helps you see. So do unto you unto me. Baby, I came with the sauce, but you complete the recipe. So I say all my Haitians, we're all of the nations. Rep where you came from, but big up my Jamaicans. They're stuck in their ways, the glue's on their face, and we don't even play like that. Oh yeah, hey. The glue's on their face, they're stuck in their ways. The glue's on their face, they're stuck in their ways. The glue's on their face, but we don't even play like that.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to another installment of Never Tuck Your Town TV. I am DSP, your friendly neighborhood media personality of the Blast Podcast, and today we have a very, very special guest. Special guest is probably an understatement because it's funny because I'm sitting here like, wait, I used to hear so much about her when it came to basketball. Like I used to hear she used to come to the rec, used to get guys upset because she used to, give them the business. And they couldn't take it because it was a woman that was doing it to them. So I was like, wow, I'm actually about to sit down and speak to Lindsay Gonzalez. She played for North Rockland High School basketball, 1,000-point scorer. I believe I'm gonna ask her, but I believe she played for my history teacher, Coach Korn. I'm not sure. I'm gonna ask her, but this is crazy. It's like this was meant to happen. She also played for St. Peter's College in Jersey City. I believe she's a Hall of Famer there as well. She's a life coach now. She trains in basketball. So I had to do the little intro. Of course, you know how I got. You know how I do. Of course, it's me. How you doing? And of course, I'm going to bring in the guest right now, Miss Lindsay Gonzalez. Thank you for coming on the show. I mean, as you heard in the intro, this is like surreal to me right now because I heard so much about you. I've heard so much about you.
I think you're giving me too much credit, Dal.
No. Look, I mean, it's so real because Carlos, shout out to Carlos Diaz, he was the one that was like, yo, Del, because he was one of the guys that would always tell me about you.
He was my boy. I loved Carlos, man. Yes. I mean, he's always been there supporting me. So I love that kid so much. I mean, we all used to play together back when.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, yeah. Like, yo, Del, I got an idea for you. You got to talk to Lindsay. And I was like, oh, yes. I used to hear so much about her.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, you're right. All I did was play with boys growing up. I mean, the only girls I really played with was when I started playing on teams, and you're kind of forced to play with girls. But
yes, absolutely.
These boys taught me the right way to play. And I say it to everybody, but I truly think it's why I played the way I played growing up, and it's kind of what got me to that next level is just having that like style and that flash that I just learned picking up from the boys' habits.
Having that head.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then of course the grit and the toughness that came with it, but it was always playing with the guys. So
I mean, like I was saying before, you train basketball, you do life coaching. You also have two beautiful children that I saw. So
thank you. I do. Yeah.
So my first question is, first and foremost, how's the mental health been for the past 2 years? Because COVID and
I know it's not
that's been going on.
It's crazy. It is tough. I think it's been a tough year for everybody. Tough 2 years, especially the first year that COVID really hit everybody. Um, it's kind of why I started dipping my toes into that life coaching field. I have a full-time job working as a sales director for an advertising company.
Okay.
And then, for already about 6 or 7 years, my baby is my Gain the Edge basketball training, which is training basketball athletes specifically. And then in the last year or two, I think you hit it on the head. I think there was, a void for life coaching because there's this stigmatism to, oh, you need a therapist if there's something wrong with you, or if there's something you're struggling with. And I'm like, well, what about the person that doesn't think there's anything wrong, but they need that guidance and they need to talk to someone, whether it's about their career or relationship or getting healthy.
Yes.
And I found a lot of that in the last year or two with, I think a lot of people had to dig deep and kind of face themselves in the mirror. These last year or two when the distractions aren't there. And that's kind of what led me into the life coaching business. So it's been interesting. It's new for me, but I got my certification and I just love helping people grow. Thank you. Thanks.
That's what's up. I mean,
yeah.
We before we get into the life coaching and everything like that,
Sure.
I'm just glad to hear that your mental health is good and that you're helping other people.
We are. Yes, everyone's healthy.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So we have to go to the basketball journey.
Yeah, let's do it.
When wait, as a matter of fact, who put the basketball in your hand?
Man, I'll tell you that question. The answer to that question, rather. I grew up across, I don't know if you remember, I grew up, it was a little street called Simonovsky Drive right before that famous Haverstraw Tunnel, right?
Yes, I know.
And I grew, yeah, exactly. Everybody knows the tunnel.
Yes.
So I grew up across the street from a group home.
Yes.
And
the
group home, right? Right. They were like some of our best friends. They were my best friends. And it was, 5 to 10 boys, always weirdly around my age or a little bit older. And I became really good friends with them. And they had a basketball hoop. And they would be out there playing every day. And I would walk my little butt across the street and just ball until like you couldn't see the ball anymore. Like it was just dark. Yeah. And they didn't treat me like a girl. They treated me like one of these boys that are coming to play with them. Yeah. And that's how I started playing. My parents never forced me to play basketball. I mean, I started playing at St. Peter's, coincidentally, CYO, when I was in 4th grade. I wasn't any good. I was actually pretty bad.
Okay.
I
like that you can admit that. I like that.
I'm telling you, I was no good. I didn't even play. I sat the bench and, they'd throw me in because I was quick. So they would just make me chase the ball. It was ridiculous. But eventually I started getting better because I played with these boys every single day. And so, most people are like, oh, my mom or my dad, or I had an older sister who was into the sport and they taught me. It wasn't like that for me. For me, it was just, I got to go outside and play the one sport that everybody just happened to be playing, and it was basketball. Okay.
So it was like organic for you.
That was the beginning for me. I'm telling you, they taught me. I remember them even saying to me, there was a few people that I know these names off the top of my head because again they were good friends. But this one kid, Kwame, he taught me what a layup was. I'm like, what the hell's a layup? What's a layup? Like these terminologies. And he's like, oh, a layup's when you put the ball off the backboard and you. So he taught me these things. So now I'm going into organized ball and trying to, put everything on the court that I learned from just playing outside with these guys. Okay. And so that's how it all started, Del. I'm telling you, right across the street on Simonovsky Drive.
That's so crazy. But it makes sense as to why you play so tough.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I can show you scars on my elbow. There's one here that from when I fell, you could see my bone, and the boys were like, pour some water on it, and let's, are you on or off? And I'm like, I'm on. I'm pouring water on it. And, I had a tooth in my head from ball faking someone and he came down. Oh yeah. And now I run across the street to my house, and there's
Yeah.
blood dripping down my face.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, and my mom's like, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah,
You
she
know.
was probably losing it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
That's
they
so cool
taught.
though.
Yeah, so that's where it all started. It's where I got a lot of my grit from. And I'm telling you, they were the best. They were my best friends, and they taught me this game from an early age.
That's what's up. Shout out to
Yeah,
them because
yeah,
it took you a long way. Shout
yeah.
out to them. That's
It
what's up.
did. It did.
Is it true, though? Is it true that you used to piss some guys off because you used to hurt their feelings
Oh
on the
yeah.
basketball court? On the basketball court, we're talking basketball.
Yeah. You kidding me? I used to go to Haverstraw Day Camp. And may she rest in peace. There was a counselor there her name was Tanya. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of these guys my age, they'll know her. If they went to that Haverstraw Day Camp, they knew Tanya because she ran the camp. She was a counselor.
Okay.
Like I said, may she rest in peace. She died a few years ago of cancer.
All right.
And she used to like pimp me out to like play boys for like $5. So she'd be like, oh yeah.
Is that legal?
It's now it's not. Back then we could do whatever we wanted.
That's so true. That's
Right?
so
Like
true.
now you
That's
get
true.
God, can you imagine that? But back
That
then
is
she'd
so
be
funny.
like, you want to play Lindsay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll play. I'll $5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And I would just
She
be
knew how talented you were.
she
She knew.
we would hustle boys. And I remember I got tripped pretty bad one game and it was intentional. And she got in this kid's face, like, because he was kind of pissed off that I'm like,
Yeah, because you were killing them. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
That
So,
ego. Of
and
course.
everybody would gather around and kind of watch it. And so to answer your question, I think there was a few bitter boys out there.
Of course. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would have been upset too.
Right? I would have been upset.
I would have been like, I just lost.
Yeah.
Like the male ego at a young age is like,
Oh God, it's brutal.
it's yes. So like losing to a girl, you're just walking around like,
Yeah, I get the sucker trip at the end when I blew past you.
yeah, oh man, that is crazy. But
Yeah.
that's good to hear. I didn't know your skills were being pimped out like that.
They were being pimped out. I know. I don't remember getting any money from it. So I don't know if she pocketed it or what, right? But
Hey, we're not talking bad about the dead.
listen, she deserves it. She is in the business, and it built me up. So it all worked out.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it did. Built you up. Yes, it did. So you said you started playing in CYO. You weren't that good. When did you start seeing that? Okay, I'm getting better at this. Let me start taking this serious.
Yeah, I think I've always had this pretty competitive nature. And so I'll tell you a quick story. It's kind of funny. I was playing, CYO. My sister was a year older than me, and we played together. And I never played. But one thing I could do, Del, I was strong. I was always just a strong little kid, so I could launch the ball from pretty far. Okay. So those like generic layup lines that you do before games. Yeah, so I was already bored with it, and I'm like launching the ball from half court. And my coach comes walking over to me, and she's like, "Do me a favor, start taking shots that you're going to take in a game."
Okay.
So I took my ball, I went to the bench, I sat down on the bench, and I start launching it from the bench. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, this is where I am in a game."
Wait, how old were you when you said this?
I'm telling you, 4th grade. So my mom now sees me sitting on this bench, and my coach was not happy. She's like, "Okay, you want to be a smart ass, now you're gonna sit there." So I couldn't even warm up. So my mom is like looking across like, "Why isn't Lindsay warming up? Why?" So she walks over, talks to the coach, and the coach was like, "Well, she kind of got a little slick with me, and this is what she said." And my mom did one of those like, "Do I laugh or do I beat her butt right now for disrespecting someone?" And she walked away. So that year, I remember not being happy. I remember being like, man, how come I'm not playing in 4th grade? I'm just not playing a lot. And I went out there, and I know it sounds a little crazy, but I'm telling you, I went out there every day. I'm telling you, Rain, I remember playing outside with these boys when it was pouring rain out. Oh, like being drenched and the ball slipping through your hands, but we didn't care. We didn't care. Yeah. And so I just started working on my game, and before you know it, I was just always quick. So I started putting the quickness with this little crossover that these boys taught me, and
Okay.
it just developed from there. And then I realized, oh, well, this game's simple. I just got to get past these girls. If I can do a layup, I just got to get past these girls. So for the longest time, I actually didn't have a jump shot. I didn't really develop a jump shot until high school. I didn't have to.
'Cause you were quick.
I was quick. I could get by girls and I could cross them over and get to the, playing against girls came a little bit easier for me because playing against boys, their wingspans longer, they're quicker, they're more physical. So then I'd get on the court and play against girls. I'm like, man, this is kind of easy to get past these checks.
Mhm.
And it's kind of what made me stand out. I think if you ask anyone, oh, she's a crossover, it was kind of what I developed first. And
That's exactly what I was hearing about you.
yeah, and I took the path of the least resistance, and I didn't really develop any more parts of my game until I had to in high school, where it's like, wow, I'm playing against seniors as a freshman, and these girls are twice as big as me,
So
and they are.
you were a varsity level freshman year.
I was, yeah, yep, and I was tiny, and now I'm playing against, the size difference between a senior and a freshman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then that's when I really had to develop, a mid-range game and a three-point game and work on other parts of my game. But for the longest time, I was kind of able to coast by with just a mean crossover and
And the
some
speed.
drive. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't know you were playing varsity your freshman year.
Yeah, I was
That-
playing varsity as a freshman. It was
Did you
fun.
start?
I did. Yeah, I started. I was a four letter or winner for 4 years for varsity basketball. I started since my freshman year, and I think that's what helped me kind of get that 1,000-point scoring too. You play 4 years,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, then my senior year, I was able to win a few awards, and one was the Isabel Costa Award, which is the best girl in the county. So
Yes.
it was a great experience, and I loved every part of being a North Rockland Red Raider and playing 4 years on varsity for Coach Corn. You were right.
It was.
It was Coach Corn.
That was my history teacher. That's so crazy.
Did you fall asleep in his class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful because I'm a huge history guy. Like I
Okay.
love history. It was just his voice was so
Oh,
monotonous, and
dude.
I'm just like, and
I know.
I got caught, and I'm like, oh, detention. Dang, no. But no,
I think I fell asleep at practice a few times.
one thing I could say about Coach Corn,
Yeah,
he knew the game.
he did.
He knew the game, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know you knew the game this much. Because we would have
Yeah.
discussions when I was in high school, and he would just impress me with the knowledge of basketball he had. So when I was hearing he was winning championships and stuff like that, I was like, I'm not shocked. He knows the
Yeah.
game very well.
You're so right. He did. He taught me so much about the fundamental parts of the game that I
Yes.
didn't know.
Yes.
Silly things, pivot foot,
Yep.
your
Positioning.
footwork, positioning, backdoor cuts, the word deny. I mean, things that nowadays kids are learning, I train fifth graders and I'm making sure that they understand the terminologies and these things. Yeah. But then I was learning it in high school, but you're right. He knew the game.
Yeah, he knew the game. Yeah, so that's crazy that you a Coach Corn
Coach Corn.
Alumni, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're right.
School, right?
Uh-huh.
Your school of basketball. So that's crazy. You played 4 years for Coach Corn, North Rockland High School. You guys won any sectionals?
We went my senior year and we lost to Ursuline Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we ended up losing. So we went all the way to the end, played at the county center, and then ended up losing to them.
That was Westchester or Syracuse?
That was in Westchester.
Westchester, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, it's actually right now. It's the place where the New York Liberty plays. It's the stadium where they play at now.
Yep, I know.
Mhm.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So wait, after the 4 years, 1,000-point scorer, what was the recruiting process like for you?
So it was tough at first. So it's funny, you don't hear a lot about and I just spoke about this a couple years ago at a camp as a guest speaker, and I said, you always hear, and I'm glad you're asking these questions, Del, because you always hear about like the endeavors and the milestones that a lot of these and I'm not labeling myself as a star, but a lot of these, athletes that made it to the next level, what they did. And I'm like, girls, here's what they don't tell you. They don't tell you the struggles and the speed bumps and the failures you had. So let me tell you a few of mine. But and I told them. So right, I started out basketball 4th grade, not knowing anything, and I was terrible. And I worked at the game, and I got better. 1,000-point scorer all through high school, 4-year starter. And then now the recruitment process comes, and I start getting letters in the mail that, I'm interested in you. I'm interested in you, from colleges. My parents at this point, neither of them had gone to college. My mom had her associate's degree through Stack, a local college. My dad owned his own business. So they weren't educated on the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of writing letters back. This was pre-email days, and I'm writing letters back. And yeah. And so I played AAU my senior year. And before you know it, I'm noticing a lot of colleges watching me play.
Okay.
And they're not allowed to talk to you.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of watching it. And then more letters start coming in. And I got recruited by a lot of the MAC schools, the MAC conference schools, with one of the heavy hitters coming after me was Rider University.
Really?
And I remember they were one of the first names, and the coach was all over me. And he offers me, the first person to offer me a full ride, but he wants an early commitment.
Okay.
Verbal. And my dad was like, Lindsay, you're at the beginning of this process. Don't jump into it. Don't get excited. Well,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up sharing that back with the coach, and I said, listen, I'm just not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he then basically plays the card with me, which was not nice. Listen, if you don't want the position, I have a million other girls kind of thing, and I'm not going to offer this to you. And I was heartbroken. As a senior in high school, I'm thinking, this is going to be my only offer. What if he pulls this from me and I'm not going to be able to?
You were still young. You were still very young.
So young, yeah. And my dad again said to me, no way. Don't buy into this. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. There'll be other schools. And sure enough, there were. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, I got recruited by Syracuse. I got recruited by St. John's. I got recruited by most of the MAC schools, with the exception of like 2 of them. So right there was 8 more schools. I got recruited by Binghamton, Albany. And there were a few, Navy, because I was in that ROTC program for high school. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So Navy was actually allowed to talk to you earlier than any other school because of the recruitment process on the academic side. Mm-hmm. So I was talking heavily with the Navy coach. Anyway, not to bore you, there was a lot of schools.
Oh, you're not boring.
Yeah, and now I'm visiting colleges and I'm talking to coaches, and they're selling you on why that program is the best for Lindsay. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yes, it is.
And so, and so I was really hung up on St. John's and Syracuse, right? Yeah. I'm like, whoa, Syracuse, St. John's. So then I go and visit St. Peter's. And there's this little Italian man named Coach Granelli.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, just so we all know this, he's the 5th winningest coach in women's basketball history, right? So like there's Pat Summitt and then there's Mike Granelli.
Okay.
So I walk into St. Peter's and he shows me the facilities, and it's right in Jersey City, right? So it's not like this gorgeous suburban campus. Like you're in the heart of Jersey City.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings me up to the gym. And he's like, understand this college is known for its women's program. I said, okay. And he shows me all of the banners that the women's team had won. So that means when you win your conference, you go to the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's showing me all this, and he sits me down. He goes, tell me, what are your top picks? And I'm like, Syracuse and St. John's.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of giggles. And I'm like, why is that funny? And he's like, well, just why do you like that team? I'm like, well, it's Syracuse and St. John's. And he goes, do you know what their records are in women's basketball? And I said, no, I couldn't tell you. He goes, my team can beat them any day. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, the reason I ask you this is we all get hooked up on this Syracuse name, right? And it's men's basketball. and you get hooked on this St. John's name, and it's men's basketball. Yeah. And he said, do you think Syracuse or St. John's, they're ever going to beat UConn and go to the – let me show you the last time they went to the NCAA Tournament. And he showed me, and Del, it was like 20 years ago. He goes, you're not going to the dance with that team. You'll go to the dance with my team. And I'm like,
that's some great recruiting.
That is really good recruiting. And in my head, I know. And I'm like, okay. So he started, buying the whole staff. They're like, gave me St. Peter's shirts, all this stuff. And they said, just think about what we said. No hard pressure. And there was none. In this meantime, I'm still saying other schools. I did my own research. I'm like, dude, he was right. Like, it sounds like a great program, and they are good women's programs, but it's not what the men were. Exactly. And you get hooked up on these names. You get hooked on this brand that the school has.
That's what it was. Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So then Coach Granelli all of a sudden calls me and goes, you know what? I've never done this. I'm telling you, it's been 15, 20 years since I've done this, but I want to come to your home with my coaching staff, and I want to sit down, and I just want to talk to you and your parents. So he drove all the way from, and it's not a far drive, right? But an hour and a half, Jersey City. Drove to Haverstraw. Yeah. Knocked on my front door, sat in my living room with my parents and just talked and said, we just want to get to know Lindsay better. We want her on this team. And that's what sold me. Besides it being like a winning women's program, the care, the compassion this coach had, and I'm like looking at all these banners for the women. I'm like, I want to go to the dance. That's what this is about. I want to fit in a program. I want to, be a part of a winning team. And so that night I verbally committed to Coach Granelli for St. Peter's. Yeah.
You've seen how invested he was.
He was. He really was. And he was a man of his words out. He wasn't pushy. He didn't fit. Yeah. He was, I'm telling you, if you didn't know he coached basketball, you'd think he was part of the mob. Like, he's like this little old Italian guy that
out of Jersey City, right?
Out of Jersey City. Doesn't sugarcoat anything. Like, he was.
Oh, I bet.
He was real.
Oh, I bet he was even realer when it came to basketball too.
Oh, dude, he was brutal.
Yes.
Brutal.
Hey, he's number 5 for a reason.
Exactly right. You're right. He treated us like, I'm telling you, and I don't mean this, and I know Bobby Knight has this bad, connotation. Yeah. But he was like the Bobby Knight of women's basketball. He didn't sugarcoat things. If he wanted to tell you how you played, he didn't generalize the team. He said, Gonzo, you had the shittiest game. Get your act together. But there was no grudge the next day. He loved you. He embraced you. He taught you.
It wasn't
Yep, exactly. So that's how I got recruited for St. Peter's, and that's how I came to my my decision to go with being a peahen. Do you know that's what they are, peahens?
Yeah, peahens. Yes. Yeah. When I was doing the research, I was like, wait.
That was like the one thing I was a little iffy about.
Yeah, I was like, wait. Do they mean peacocks or peahens?
I know. It's like I know.
Listen,
we had like a little symbol for it. It's like a little peahen, but not intimidating at all.
No, not at all. But teams could come in there. This team is nothing, and then
that's right. You got beat by a peahen.
I mean, wow. The peahen thing really took me for a spin. I was like, "Am I reading this wrong?"
I know.
I was like, "Is this accurate?" And then everywhere I looked, I was like, "No, it says peahens."
I didn't even know it was an animal. I'm like, I referred to myself as a lady peacock. He's like, "No, we're peahens." I'm like, what? That's what I just signed up for? To be a peahen? But listen, ride or die. I'll ride or die as a peahen.
Hey, let me ask you, how was the career in college?
The career was great. So, I didn't start my freshman year. I ended up earning a starting position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was this.
How was that?
It was tough. I think they thought that I would adjust better my freshman year and I remember we had a meeting because I was like, why am I not starting? And there was a senior point guard. And my coach was like, you're just not there yet. I thought you would be. I thought that you were going to come in. We thought you were going to be our starting point guard as a freshman, and again, that fueled me. It fueled me to get in the gym after practice, before practice. I'm shooting on the machine. I was a soaking wet, like 100 pounds when I went in. So I'm now like hitting the weight room and putting like 15 pounds of muscle on just to compete with these other Division I players, but more so my own point guard. That's where the first level of competition comes in.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, I got to beat this chick out of the position. Mm-hmm. And I had a few hiccups. It was my freshman year. We're doing some drill, and I feel something in the back of my ankle at that point, like my Achilles. And I'm like, ooh, that kind of twinged me wrong. And I kept going through it, right? Because I'm here like, you can't, sit out. You're trying to earn this position. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm pushing and pushing. The next day, I can't even walk. And I go to the trainers, and he's like, and there's this ball like on the back of my Achilles. He's like, Linz, you're this close to tearing your Achilles. What did you do? And I was like, well, I felt it yesterday, but I was like, pain out the window. I'm rolling. Let's finish this practice. He's like, so they put me in a boot, and that kind of put me back a couple weeks because you have to get off of it. It's the worst injury if you tear it.
Yeah.
But then after that, I got back and grinded and earned a position to start as a freshman. Halfway into the season, I'd say.
Okay.
And then ever since then, didn't not start a game. So it was we ended up going to the dance my sophomore year, lost to Cincinnati in overtime.
Okay.
Yeah. So
wait. Yeah, that's just the loss over. Okay. You were just saying that.
Yeah.
You went there to go to the dance. So now you get to the dance.
The dance.
How was that experience?
Oh my God.
That's like press. I mean, yes. That's a big deal for the NCAA. Like
it was.
Some people don't realize how serious that is.
I know, you're right. Experience? And you know what? I didn't even, as an athlete playing Division I basketball, I didn't even realize how serious it was. So my sophomore year, we are, I don't know, probably number 5 or 6 in our conference. And we win the first round, go to the second. And now in the championship, we're playing Siena, who we've lost to twice that season.
Okay.
Right? But there's statistics, right? It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. And I'm just like, all right, let's do this. And we controlled the game from beginning to end. I actually ended up winning player of the game for that game and MVP for the conference. It was probably my best game of my season. So we beat Siena, and we go to the dance, and we end up going to South Carolina to play Cincinnati. And we play Cincinnati.
So wait.
Yeah.
Where did you guys play the first game?
The first game was, don't forget, it's neutral ground. So Cincinnati we were in South Carolina playing against Cincinnati. Yeah.
So where did you play Siena? You played Siena at home?
Oh, Siena. That was actually, believe it or not, that was at Siena's home court. They were just happened to be hosting the MAC tournament.
Oh.
So Siena's in our conference.
So you guys beat them at their own court.
At their own court.
That is so dope.
Yeah, to win the championship, exactly.
That is so dope. And then you had to fly to South Carolina to play.
Right, yeah. So now we're watching, we're watching all together, eating dinner with our families. It's like a big event. You're waiting to see who you're going to play and where you're going. And sure enough, they say St. Peter's is playing Cincinnati and the location's at South Carolina.
It was like a selection show, right?
Let's do this. Yes, that's exactly right. The selection show. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went there, and there's strict rules. You're on the court. You have an hour for practice, and when that buzzer goes off, everyone's off the court. There's crazy strict rules to the tournament.
I didn't know.
Yeah, you can't even step foot on the wood until 20 minutes before game time because both teams have to have equal amount of times playing. There's crazy rules.
I did not know that they actually timed your practices at the time.
Timed your practice there. And there's people from the NCAA just watching because you'll get disqualified and eliminated. And so my coach is like, with 5 minutes left, it's not even worth it. Let's get off the
Let's
court,
go.
into the
That's
locker
right.
room. Yeah. Get everybody off, leave the balls. Played Cincinnati the first round.
Mhm.
There, we scout the team, obviously, have a bunch of film. There's this all-American girl, point guard,
Oh,
on
wow.
the team. Yeah. Lynn's lock her up, right? It's go time, let's lock her up. Guess what, Del? I lock her up.
Mhm.
She scores like 6 points from the whole game.
Okay.
Right?
Great defense.
Yeah, thank you. But then I blew it in overtime. She lit me up. She scored 8 points in overtime against me.
And those were key points.
That's yeah, and we lost in overtime. And it's like, well, I guess this is why she's an All-American, right? Like she was pushed against that corner and she knew what she had to do, and she outdid me that game. I'm telling you, I was like, yes, we did it. We shut her down. Let's go. It's overtime. It's our game. And she just came out like, give me the ball. Give me the ball. And she was a senior. I was a sophomore, and she beat me. There was no other way to talk about it. She did better than me in the last 5 minutes of overtime, and she got her team to the next round. So I hate Cincinnati everything.
You still hold a grudge against the city of
like
Cincinnati.
A really big grudge.
But I mean, how did that turn you into more of a competitive animal? Because you seeing what you did to her for those first 4 quarters, and then overtime, she just turned into like she went into another gear pretty much.
She did. She did. I mean, she showed why she was an All-American and an experienced senior point guard. She made all the right decisions. I'm not sure. Like, I remember just being like, God, this chick always has the ball in her hands. Like, are you even passing it to your? She just took the game over and knew she had to. And
she probably told her teammates, "Yo, I've let y'all down. I have to do something now."
That's exactly right. Yeah, you're right. And I don't know if I let my guards down. You try to bring yourself back to God, what seems like yesterday, but it's 15 years ago. And I'm like, what was my mind frame? Did I get too comfortable knowing I know how to guard her, and then all of a sudden she turns up? And so it was. We only lost by a few points. It turned into a fouling match, and
Of course, strategy.
but they beat us fair and square. And I remember being like, man, this chick, she's pretty damn good. She did what she had to do. If only it was me that could have done that, but it wasn't.
Of course. I mean, it's a learning experience as well, because I'm sure you took that into your junior and senior year. You're
It
like,
was. You're right.
I'm not letting this happen again.
Not again. You're right. I know. So it was a learning experience, and it helped me lead my team, the next couple years as a veteran and as a captain my senior and my junior year. So it was yeah, it was great experience. I mean, we unfortunately didn't get to the dance after that.
Okay.
We did not get to the dance after that. We kept going to the finals, and then we'd lose. We lost to Niagara, I think it was 1 year, and Marist another year, I think it was. So
they usually have women's teams, though.
They do. After I graduated, my coach retired with my graduating class.
Oh, that's what's up.
It was really cool. So he put the ball down and he walked away from St. Peter's after 35 years of coaching. And Marist, I think, won it like the next 3 to 5 years, something like that. I remember hearing their name when I was overseas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, good segue. I like that.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, I like that. I really do. You have no idea. I love segues.
So I know the agenda you gave me.
Yes.
I'm just joking. Someone's credit card number.
I didn't give her an agenda, but
she didn't
making me look real good right now. But no, for real, like after college, I mean, you've banged it out, did your 4 years, got the education, had fun playing ball. Now you're being watched by another level of basketball.
Right. So, and you know what that level's called, Del? Agents.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that usually determines whether you get into particular leagues or not.
That's exactly right.
I didn't realize how much so, like, until I started doing the media thing. and I'm talking to different athletes, and they're like, "Bro, I was good enough to get into the league. It's just I didn't have the proper representation."
That's exactly right.
And I was
You're
like,
100% right.
and then once I started researching, I'm like, "Yo, all these players are saying the same thing."
Right.
So now to hear you say it, I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
It's true because we're so used to being recruited by the coach themselves, right? Like in college, they come to watch you in high school. When you're in AAU, there's college coaches watching you. And even this day and age, you're a really good middle schooler. Now private schools, high schools are trying to, recruit you.
It's true.
And at the end of college, it's different. It's like who's going to represent me and has the right avenues and connections to get me the best, contract. And for what country? Or is it the WNBA, or for the men's cases, the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly right. Like, so my senior year in college, now I'm not being contacted. They're not allowed to talk to you. They're contacting my coach saying, we'd like to represent Lindsay. Yeah. And he held on to this information up until maybe the last few games of my senior year. And he let me know, like, Linz, I do want you to know that playing professionally is an option for you. And we need to discuss that. Yeah, it felt awesome, Anybody asked me what I wanted to be growing up, I say I want to play professional basketball. I want to play. That's all I ever said.
It was a dream.
And yeah, it's crazy what the universe absorbs, isn't it? It's all I said. I never said anything else. And now hearing that as a senior, I'm going to school for criminal justice.
Cool.
And I'm on the path. You got to pick two paths. You either went the working route, so you picked an agency like DEA, FBI, whatever it was, and they got you grounded into that avenue to get into that organization, or you went the grad school route. Mm-hmm. So I had to pick one of the two. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to pick because I'm going pro. I'm not picking, And so I sat down with my advisor, and he's like, then let's go the grad school route because we're not going to put you in the workforce. But in my head, as soon as I heard there was agents contacting, I was checked out of a career, and I'm like, I'm going pro. And that's where my head was. So it was, at that point, my season wraps up. Now I'm allowed to talk to the agents. And I ended up going with a woman, Jean King. She had a lot of WNBA players on her portfolio. And that was my goal. It was my dream to play in the WNBA, which I never did. Okay. I had a tryout, and nothing really ever came of it. It was a combine, so it was actually.
Oh, so it was in front of all the scouts.
It was like you're just scrimmaging, and you're going through these workouts in front of, call it like 10 WNBA coaches, and it was the championship weekend of WNBA. And I should have known better, because guess where it was?
Where was it?
It was in Ohio.
Cincinnati.
It was Cleveland, actually, but it might as well have been. I was cursed.
Cincinnati for crying.
I know. I should have known.
Ohio.
I should have known.
Crazy. That's trippy. I'm sorry.
I am cursed by that state.
That is so funny. She said, guess where it was? Ohio. Crying out loud. That is
seriously.
So funny.
What's in Ohio besides all my failures?
Right? Oh my goodness. No, you got to look at it as lessons.
There you go. You're right.
Look at it.
You're so right.
You said you learned leadership after the Cincinnati situation.
I did.
And I'm sure you learned a lot after the combine situation.
You're right. I did. It taught me, like, just you got to work towards this harder and harder and harder to try to get to the WNBA, which, again, I didn't ever get to, but at least it led me to playing in Europe. It led me playing on the national team in Puerto Rico. It led me to playing professionally in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. So it really set me up for, no doubt, a more competitive route, because I'll tell you what, playing overseas is not. You see how these dudes perform in the Olympics. They can't hang with a lot of these foreign teams. The touch fouls aren't the touch fouls.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was about to say, that route that you took, instead of going the WNBA route, it probably fits you better because, like you said in the beginning, you were like, I was very competitive. Anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe you were fit for overseas.
You're not. Yeah.
Because,
Thank
like
you.
you
I
said, they're
appreciate that.
tough.
I appreciate that. I think you might be right because it's a physical game. It is not like I actually had trouble adjusting. I went to 3 days after I graduated. I graduated St. Peter's, and 3 days later, I was on a plane to Puerto Rico to play with the national team.
Oh, so
And
you played for the national team first?
yeah, can you believe that? I played with the national team before I even played pro and signed a contract pro. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah, so because thank
how old
you.
were you?
21. I was a baby. I don't even know if I was 20 or 21. I graduated 18. Yeah, 21. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I turned 21. I had just turned 21. So yeah, 3 days I'm on a plane, saying
Imagine,
bye to everybody.
imagine playing for your ancestral country at the age of 21, and it's probably the highest level. Like
Yeah,
you're
it is.
playing countries.
You're playing against Cuba, who goes to the Olympics every 4 years virtually. I mean, you're playing against Canada, Turkey. You're playing against a lot of the Caribbean teams who are just trying to get their way in
Yeah.
to the higher end tournaments to get you to the Olympics.
Yes.
So it was, and again, let's talk a little bit about, we hear like, man, you did this, Lens, you did this, Lens. I didn't play my first year. I sat the bench my first year with the
With Puerto
national team.
Rico. Okay.
Yeah, in Puerto
Okay.
Rico. I practiced hard, and then we fly to Cuba. We actually fly to Dominican Republic, then to Cuba, because there was no direct flights because of that whole relationship that Cuba
Of
had with everybody.
course.
And I played, I don't know, 3 minutes a game, 4 minutes a game. And it was like the last 3 to 4 minutes when we knew we were either winning or losing.
Losing, yeah, garbage time, yeah.
Yeah, and I was frustrated. It was probably my most trying and challenging time in my life was that first year away from my family, away from everybody I knew, and being brought down to size. And you're not the
Yeah,
all-star
because I
anymore,
mean, you were like, oh yeah, I'm good. I got this. And then now you went to
Yeah,
another level of basketball, professional basketball, where everyone was
yeah,
nice where they came from. It's now like you're jockeying for positioning. Like, all right, who's really the best?
you're exactly right. 100%. And girls that have been playing with this team for a long time. And they're
Oh,
like,
that's right.
who is this little American coming in? And that's what they
Mm.
looked at me as. They call everybody, whether you're from New York or Florida, they call you a New Yorican if you're from
That's
America. Yeah. Like it fit me because I'm from New York, but I'm like, how are you guys calling her New Yorican? She's from like Texas.
He's from Texas. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's the Americanized Puerto Rican,
Yeah,
right? I guess. I guess.
exactly.
Okay.
So like, who is this little New
I learned
Yorican
something new today.
coming out here trying to take my position? Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Oh, I know you had to deal with that because, like
I
you said,
did.
you dealt with it in college. So at the
Hmm.
professional level, of course, you're gonna deal with
Oh
that.
yeah, everyone's getting paid now. It's and in college you are too, right? You're talking a $30,000 a year scholarship, and they own
Yep.
you. But now it's like a little different ego to it.
Yes.
There's a lot more pride.
Of course, because like you said, you've been saying it since your youth. I want to go professional. Now
Yeah,
that you're there, you're like, okay, I'm
yeah,
here now. Let's go. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
yeah, the
Yeah,
ego is different.
it was, and it hurt. It was a really trying few months for me because I was homesick.
Mm,
I was far, far away. I
that's
had lost while I was in Cuba. My grandma, who was my best friend, died.
uh,
And now I can't even fly back for her funeral
no.
because by the time I got notice, I have to fly to Dominican. I
Yeah.
missed everything. Yeah, it was such a hard time. And my dad, I remember after every game, I'd call home and they charge you like $5 a minute to talk. I'm telling you. So it would be like one of those like pick up the phone. I'm like, yeah, Dad, we won, and I played 2 minutes. I don't want to hear the lecture. Goodbye. I love you. I'm alive. And hang up the phone. And he'd slip in there his baby, everything happens for a reason. You don't give up, blah, blah, blah. So I call home my second to last night there. Like, hey, mom, hey, dad, we won. I played again 2 minutes. And he starts with this lecture, but in a different tone. Like, listen, I want you to know everything happens for a reason, right? And I've told you've got to be tough. And I'm like, Dad, I got it. It's fine, And then his lecture is leading up to nothing about basketball, but your grandma died. And I know this is going to hurt you. And you're not home, you're in Cuba. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it was a nightmare. So I had to deal with that on top of not playing. At least if I was playing, I could be like,
And like you said, she was your best friend.
She was my world. They used to call, it was a mini her. She was my world. And leaving her when I went to go play overseas, it was sad for me. Like, she was old. She was 91. So, but you don't think anything's going to happen.
No, not at that age. You're not really looking at life like that.
No, she was healthy. And so that was a tough year for me. But, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And we go through, we grow through what we go through. And I had to put my big girl pants on and say, I could either just say, listen, this professional life isn't for me. Look at how it's starting. Or I could say, I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat this girl's ass for this position.
That's right.
And that's what I did.
That's right.
I'm like, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
That path was built for you. I'm telling you, it was meant for you. Trust me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But so now you got the starting position, Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So
what was the first game you started? Who were you playing against? How was that mentally?
You know what? So here's the crazy part, right? I leave Puerto Rico after playing on the national team, but not getting playing time. I come home and my agent calls me and says, I got a gig for you in Sweden. I said, okay, let's do it. Yeah, but you got to be on a plane in like 2 days. So I'm in my family's kitchen. I'm just getting home from playing 3 months, 4 months with the national team. And I'm like, time to do it. This is my only way to get better, to now go back to the national team and start getting on other teams professionally. And so I did. I went to Norrköping, Sweden. I started there. Really good league, their top professional league. I met great friends. I loved it. It's gloomy there, but it's beautiful in the spring. I was a little homesick, but did my thing. And then came back after that season to the national team and never turned back since then. I played with the national team, started with them for 7 years straight. To answer your question, when I came back, who did we play? God, it was one of those Latin American teams. It was like Costa Rica and I was ready. I'd just been playing in Europe,
I was going to say, do you think playing in Sweden really prepared you for that experience to come back and be like, I'm not giving up this spot to anybody?
That's a great word, Del. That is a great word. I've never used that word or thought of it like that, but it is exactly what it did. It repaired me, it rebuilt me to understand that I can do this and don't get beat up because you didn't play, this past season. So then, of course, Puerto Rico hears, oh, Lindsay went to Europe, and now they're like, we need her back. We need her. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm a different player in their eyes.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. And so I played for their professional team 8 years straight. I played for their national team. I played over in Dominican Republic for a professional team and did that for 8 to 9 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Great experience. And
not too many people get that experience to play professionally 8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
And not let alone. I always tell people this. You can still play professionally and it doesn't have to be the NBA or WNBA.
You're right. You're 100% right. Especially guys.
Yes.
It's lucrative. I know guys that make, $500,000 playing in Russia. Mm-hmm. The girls' money is a bit different. I mean, we know that it is what it is, but it's still enough to make a nice living and get everything paid for. And see the world and enjoy yourself and build yourself as a human being. But you're 100% right, especially in the men's world. It's endless. You could play Russia, Greece, China. I mean, a million places without it being the NBA.
Absolutely, and that's why I usually tell people, if you have that dream to play ball, don't give up if you don't make it to the league.
Yeah.
That's why I like your story so much, because you were like, well, if I can't get to the WNBA, I'm gonna play somewhere.
100%. And I want to be the best at it. I want to be, if I can't, and you're right. I think Sweden repaired me for the next step. I think that not playing, there's always been something that's like, people think when you hear about Lindsay Gonzalez, like, man, she excelled. She just excelled. And they don't hear about the story where I didn't start as a freshman in college, where I didn't play at all my first year playing professionally with the women's national team. You don't hear the story where I tried out for a state team, Empire State team, and got cut. I got cut in my 8th grade year. We don't share those stories enough to these kids.
Yeah, that they
to
gotta
let them
there's
know.
trials and tribulations.
Yeah, 100%. And I think those stories are more important than getting a Hall of Fame award. And this, you gotta hear of what's going to defeat you for you to understand that it doesn't mean it's over. Just means you got to get better. And yeah, right. And I hate to keep throwing these like cliche statements out there, but again, I train athletes, and so
I was about to say, no, we got athletes that watch, so give them all the cliches you got.
Yeah, and I train these athletes who go through these, like, Linz, I didn't make my travel team, and I'm like, dude, rejection is just redirection in the right direction. And I am and I truly believe, and I look at my life, I'm like, to your point, I was meant to play in Europe. I was meant to play overseas. I was meant to represent my country. And a little small town called Haverstraw that's predominantly Puerto Rican. And this is what I was meant to do. And this wouldn't have happened if, I didn't get cut from a WNBA tryout. If I wouldn't have gone to Sweden if I played, I would have been complacent. I would have been, complacent with playing on the national team that first year and been like, oh, I'll just stay in Puerto Rico and play the next 10 years. So I think it's important that we hear these stories because we don't share them often with kids and understand that you've got to trip. You have to trip in order to know that it's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You see, the saying's already popular. Rejection is redirection in the right direction.
You got it. Yes.
That is a gem for real. I really like that a lot.
I'm glad.
Let's get into your because we talked a lot about basketball. You did mention you. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. The Hall of Fame award at St. Peter's, correct?
Yeah.
2011, you got into there for your 04.
Yeah. You know what? Let me turn this off. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I got Hall of Fame for St. Peter's before North Rockland. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
It's a little.
It's weird. It's weird.
I was a little bitter. My mom's like.
I was looking, and I'm like.
I know it sounds. I'm not even saying that to be cocky, but like when I got told that I was being inducted into the St. Peter's Hall of Fame, I'm like, I'm not even in my high school's Hall of Fame yet. Like,
right.
Right.
Like, yo, I would have been.
Most people, it's the opposite. Yeah.
That was weird. That's weird. Hey,
I know, but it did happen. But I know. So
it's a little slow at the time. That's all.
I know. Or they just have that much talent that comes out of North Rockland. Right? We could look at it that way too.
They do. We do.
There
was a lot of talent especially with the ladies, there was a lot of talent that came through there.
In all sports, yeah, you're right.
So there was a lot of talent. So, but it's good that you're there now.
Thank you. You're making me feel better about it, Del.
Of course. That's what I'm here for. This is what I do.
Listen, you're going to be the new life coach. I'm going to hire you, Del. We're going to be doing this weekly, buddy.
Oh. Opportunities are afloating, and I love it.
Right?
Thank you so much. But no, I heard. I mean, I got some stats.
Yeah.
From your 04 season, you averaged almost 13 points a game. Free throw line was 72.4%. Good with the free throws, and even rebound.
Oh yeah, listen.
You almost averaged 4 boards a game.
Back to that playing with boys thing, right? you just don't stop. You're just scrappy and you go after
Love that.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you played a lot of minutes.
I did.
35 minutes a game.
Yeah. It was a lot, you know, it at that when you're that young, you don't even realize it. Your body hurts, but you go into the ice tub and you got your trainers there taking care of you, and you don't even have an option. In fact, I'd get mad if I got taken out,
Of course. Oh yeah.
Um,
You're a baller. You're a baller.
yeah,
All ballers get
so
upset. Oh yeah.
it was a lot of minutes a game. Now, if I play 35 minutes, Jesus,
Yeah,
be
like
feeling it the
you
next
think
day.
back, you're looking like, dang, I played that
Yeah,
much?
that much, I
A
know.
half hour of basketball? Yeah.
Straight through, I know. There's like math about it. You run like 20 miles in a game or something. It's crazy.
That's that's the funny thing. That's how I look at it because I'm like, I mean, the court's a lot bigger in college. It's not the CYO court. It's not the high school
You're
court.
right.
It's a lot bigger, and she's playing about her little tiny self is running up and down the court for 35 minutes
Straight, right?
That's
I know.
when I saw that, I was like, I gotta write this down.
Yeah.
No way that she run around and I was like, yeah, look at the numbers.
Yeah, it was. And then that helped me reach, because when you look at and you do the math, like 13 points a game, that's kind of what got me over that 1,000-point threshold which is rare as a point guard. You usually have your shooting guards or your post players kind of putting those numbers up. But and I didn't even know it was going to happen. All of a sudden they tell me, oh, by the way, you're like 11 points away from
1,000.
1,000 points. I'm like, really? I had no idea. I would have been better off not knowing. Yeah.
When I get there, I'll get there. Thank you.
Exactly. I didn't even know I was on that radar. So
That's what's up.
it was it was cool.
That's what's up. So now let's get into how'd you get into life coaching? How did that come about for you?
Yeah, so it's so funny because life coaching is probably like if you take Lindsay as 100%, I would say I'm a wife and a mother 50%, right? And then 30% is my real career, which I've been doing for 12 years, advertising sales, right?
Yep.
And here's a funny story about that. When I decided to take a break from playing basketball, I was a little tired. I was home only a month at a time, if that, Dell. And I said to my mom and dad, I think I'm just going to take a season off. And my dad's like, what are you thinking? You're young still, Linz. And I'm like, I just need a break. So I searched for this sports marketing job. Well, I searched for sports marketing, right? I'm like, oh, I'm in sports and I like marketing. And I found this sports marketing job down in the Philadelphia area. And I went on 2 to 3 interviews. And I'm driving from New York to Philly for these interviews. And they say, you're going to be partnering with the Sixers and you're going to be partnering with the Flyers hockey team. And we do marketing. So I'm like, man, this is right up my alley. I get the job. Day one, I'm in my heels. I got my nice outfit on. And they're like, you're wearing those heels for work? And I said, yeah. Here's what they didn't tell me. It was like a door-to-door walking, selling tickets to people. It was like a scam is what it was. So they reel you in thinking it's a sports marketing angle, but they give you like a book of tickets and they say, there's 20 books in here. You've got to go sell 10 between 9 and 5 today. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for.
I was like, this is marketing.
Yeah, there's nothing more. Exactly. So I do it, right? I go out there, I call my dad, and he's like, told you so. I told you should not have given up basketball to do this, right? He did say it. On top of that, I sign a 6-month lease down here. I'm like walking around selling these tickets, but back to me being competitive, I'm selling these tickets, right? Could talk to people. And anyway, 2 weeks later, I'm like, dude, this is for the birds. I'm not doing this anymore. So I Google jobs in South Jersey because that's right on the outskirts of Philly where I was living.
Makes sense.
And it's an account executive for this advertising company. And I sit down at this interview and they like, can we see your resume? And I hand over my resume and it has no work experience, but it has every basketball award I've won.
Okay. That's
Like,
interesting.
yeah, I'm like, what am I going to put on this resume? I've never worked before, but I'm going to put every award I won in St. Peter's and the
Hey,
national team.
I got credentials, baby. It may not
That's
be
right.
suitable for this job, but I got them.
Oh yeah. So I see them looking at my resume and I'm like, oh brother, like they're probably like, why are you here? This is like a serious sales job. Well, they bring me back for a second interview and then a third interview and they say, we want you part of this team. And I'm like, mind blown. Well, guess what
Wow.
they said? I know your resume didn't have, and my boss ends up telling me this later on. He goes, yeah, we saw your resume and thought, this chick's got to be so competitive. And it's a sales job. And she's got to be pretty thick skinned. She's a collegiate athlete, a former professional athlete. Let's give
Look
her
at
a
that.
try. Yeah,
Look
she doesn't
at
have a
that.
business degree. She didn't do any of that, but let's give her a try. And they gave me a try 12 years ago. Same company I'm with today. And I just worked my way up until I'm now heading one of the biggest magazines in the company. But it was the closest thing for me, Dal, than to sports. Like it's just, you know how sales is, right? It's challenging. It's figuring, yeah, crazy competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only thing that kind of gave me that, that same feeling that sports gave me, winning a game, getting that big sale, getting a campaign.
Look at the credentials you gave them, and they were like, "Oh, I think we need her on the team."
At least giving me a try, right? Yeah. So it worked out well. I've been with this company for 12, 13 years, right? So I said 50% is me being a mom now and a wife. And then there's this, which is my real career. And then what I started doing about 8 years ago was training athletes. And
Yes,
I
I see
said,
that.
yeah, I'm like, I think I want to get into training, but I want to train. I want to pick those athletes. I want to pick the athletes that want to be here and that are looking to get to that next level. And so I did, and I've trained a lot of Division I girls. I had a girl that played at Cornell, one that played at Assumption. I have girls that have committed to college, one to Rutgers, one now she just committed to Muhlenberg. I'm now training boys. So I started my own company 8 years ago called Gain the Edge Training, and I trained athletes, and that was really what I did with my free time. And it was
Okay.
rewarding. I got to
I was
meet
gonna
so
say
many
you
cool
used
kids.
your
Yeah.
free time right because it was something you love.
Yes, exactly. And I found that that's where, besides the sales thing, it really brought basketball back really into my world. And being able to somewhat live through these kids and teach them the things I know and get them thinking at a different level. So I've been doing that for 8 years. And then the life coaching thing is pretty new ever since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have time for anything else, but I'm like, this is something I enjoy talking to people. And there's a lot of people out there that need direction,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not about medicine and it's not about therapy and it's not about there's something wrong with me, or it's I just need to talk and I'm looking to get in the next level of my career, or physically and health wise, or with my relationship, or with my relationship with myself. Um, and with the pandemic, I mentioned full circle, we all had the chance and time to really face ourselves and really
Yes.
figure out, like, man, this is not what I expected from life, or I want to do this, I want to do
Yes.
this. And that's how I got into the life coaching gig.
I mean, but I only got one more question for you because this was an amazing conversation.
Oh God, thank you.
Really appreciate you coming through. You dropped some gems. We had some laughs. This was great. But my question to you is, how do you juggle everything that you do? Mother, wife, life
Yeah.
coach, trainer. I mean, it's a lot. How do you do it? It's like you're a superwoman or something.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. God, I don't know another way. I don't know another way. I in playing Division I basketball, they own you from 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. And if there's one thing that I try to even tell my athletes is like, without education, basketball doesn't exist. Okay. So the first question I ask every one of my athletes when they step on my court is, how was school today? How was school today? Did you get grades back?
That's good. You can't.
Yeah.
You
And I'm
can't.
like, this doesn't exist without school, you know? And I had the opportunity to go to college, and college didn't teach me how to become a DEA agent. It taught me how to multitask. It taught me how to understand that I have to be in a weight room at 5 a.m. and on a track at 6 a.m. and in the gym shooting at 7:30 a.m., all to get to class by 9 a.m., to then eat lunch with my team at 12, to have practice at 3, to have study hall at 4:30, and you're managing 5 classes and a schedule that wherever your coach says you need to be, and 10 minutes early. And so it taught me how to multitask, and then playing professionally, it's the same idea. You know, you're doing events, you're doing clinics,
I
you're
was
doing,
about to say even more so.
yeah, again, where they say you need to be, you need to be. It's part of your contract. And so I only know how to go at one speed, Del. And so when this all, you know, I get asked this question a lot, like, how do you have time? I coach my kids' soccer team. We just started, it sounds crazy. We started a roofing
You know
business.
that.
I'm telling you, it's nuts. I don't know how I do it. So it's all I know how to do. Um, and I just try to, you know, do every little piece the best I can and enjoy it while I'm doing it. It's the key. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. It's just not worth it. Life's too short.
So true. That is
Yeah.
so true. That, once again, you ended it off with a gem. Oh man, this was great. I I don't know what she's pointing at. I didn't give her anything. She's trying to give me credit. I appreciate it, but this is just how good I am. I didn't have to give her anything to prepare
No,
for this.
this
I
has
just
been
told her, hey,
awesome.
here's the link. We're gonna have an amazing conversation, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that she enjoyed it. She just said it was awesome. So thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah.
I mean, you have no idea how many people are gonna love this interview because they've probably been waiting to hear from you for so long to talk about your journey. Because I'm glad we got to talk about the ups and downs
Thank you.
because they had to know what was going on with that. And hey, you could probably show your kids this. I mean, of course,
Ye-
you may have said a few curse words, but you'd be like, hey, don't
That's
say that.
This is
Don't
nothing
say
compared to
Oh, okay. Oh,
they
your
have,
words.
they
Your
have, they
word.
have a
Okay.
Puerto Rican mom, Dal.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
our temper.
I'm from Haverstraw, so
Yeah,
I know how you guys give it up. So I
exactly.
know what it is. No, thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you.
amazing. Um, thank you, thank you,
Listen,
thank you.
thank you guys. And real quick, thank just everybody who's watching. Thank you guys, and thank every single person who supported me from when I was a kid to now. I love coming home. And when I say coming home, it's Haverstraw. My parents still live there, and I visit them, and I love it.
That's what's
And
up. Shout out to your
oh
parents.
yeah, I absolutely love it, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't be where I was today if I didn't have that confidence and support from the Carloses of the world who think I'm the GOAT. You know,
Shout out
they're
to Carlos, man.
Carlos.
It's
Come
all
on,
because of
and
him. He's just
Sean
executive producer.
Stanley, my man,
Yes. Shout out to
holding
Greg
down the
Brompton. Yes,
basketball.
sir.
Yeah, you know, they helped me be who and mold who I am today, and everybody did. So that never goes unfelt or unnoticed. So I appreciate your time. This was so much fun.
Yes, I appreciate you for number one agreeing to pull up because once I got you locked in, I was like, yes, I get to announce it, and everyone's gonna love it. So, no, thank
You've
you
been
so much.
awesome, Del.
Thank you. I appreciate that for real.
All right.
This was fun. Like
It was.
you gave me stories. You have no idea how much I love stories when I do this because it makes the viewers like more engaged. They'll be like, oh, wait a minute, she actually went through something that I went through, or I
Yeah,
know someone went
100%.
through. Yeah. So thank you so much. You made this a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank
You did too. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I
All
appreciate it.
right.
All right, but thank you. Take care of yourself,
All right.
and much success to everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, look at that. I didn't even have to invite you.
No, this is
Awesome.
fun. I got like a
So
therapy session
there's
out
going
of
to be a
it.
part two. There's going to be a part two. We're going to
Part
talk
two,
about your
stay
training.
tuned.
Yes, we're going to talk about everything. Thank you so
Everything.
much, though, Lindsay. For real.
All
Take
right.
care of yourself.
Thank you, Del. You too.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Wow. Wow. I don't even know what else to say. This was great. This was amazing. She was an awesome, awesome guest. Wow, guys. I'm just about to play these ads. I'm gonna get out of here. Um, please be sure to tune in on Tuesday. Me and my brother will be doing the recap for week number 2 for the 35 and up league. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to play these ads and then I am getting out of here. I appreciate everyone that's been watching. I'm out of here. Peace out.
And I with the night helps you sleep. So do unto you unto me. Baby, I came with the sauce, but you complete the recipe. So I say all my Haitians, we're all of the nations. Rep where you came from, but big up my Jamaicans. They're stuck in their ways, the glue's on their face, and we don't even play like that. Oh yeah, hey. The glue's on their face, they're stuck in their ways. The glue's on their face, they're stuck in their ways. The glue's on their face, but we don't even play like that.
Last Life Gaming Network is an over-the-top platform catering to the gamer, with hours of content at your disposal upon launch date. The LLGN will provide you with top-notch entertainment in the gaming world, with original shows such as Collections, Co-op Interview, and GUI Gaming Under the Influence, as well as highlights of Twitch and Mixer live streams. The network will have you chomping at the bits for content. Add on a live stream schedule and streams that will be interactive. There will be countless reasons for you, the viewer, to be invested in.
Welcome to the Blast Podcast, created and hosted by your friendly neighborhood media personality, me, DSP. I am the voice of Rockland County, New York's art culture, and this platform is the epicenter of said culture. I sit down with many artists, producers, entrepreneurs, among other creatives, and get them to open up to our listeners so they get to know them better. If I'm not doing that, I'm covering current events and reacting to them. Once again, welcome to your new favorite podcast, the Blast Podcast.